Hi, everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko. Happy to be joined by the guys, as usual, Tariq, Spence. How you doing, man?
Fantastic. Had a great Memorial Day Monday with Game 7. Didn't end the way we wanted it to, did it, Bill?
That we wanted it to.
Yeah,
Thank you for the collective.
I was rooting for you. I'm like, if Bill gets this, I'm going to have to apologize on the show.
Oh, no, you're a better man than I am. I was rooting way against him. I don't like apologizing for anything. And
you kind of like the Celtics.
What's it? No, it's a J.R. Bremer thing, right, from way back in the day. But yeah, look, I mean, Jimmy Butler. How do you cheer against Jimmy Butler right now, unless you're Bill, who's a monster?
Well, no, I'm a little on the fence as to who to pull for in the finals. It'll be interesting. So we've got the final four teams, the two hockey, the two basketball teams playing. Give me your impression on what we've got in the NBA.
Well, let's first start with the fact that everybody in the world, and I said this last week, is going to be rooting for the Miami Heat. Talking about undrafted players. We're talking Jimmy Butler. Everybody loves. The fact that this team was put together, I think he had a great line at the end of the game against the Celtics where he's basically like, we're not an 8th seed, we're the best team with the best players. And that's exactly what you want going up against this team that is just number one in all demographics and looks like we'll come away with a championship. That being said, this is why we watch sports. We watch it to see in an 8th seed, whether they want to admit it or not, a team of rosters of guys who are undrafted can go against the number one team in the NBA from beginning to end all the way through. This is the moment we will see if history wasn't made in the Eastern Conference Final, can be made in the NBA Finals.
My thing is that I think that series in the first two games is going to have to give people a reason to watch it because I don't think people will.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares about Denver. Although Jimmy Butler's done a really good job of even taking the casual basketball fan and flipping them to Jimmy Butler fans. I mean, look, Tyler Hero's on his way back in. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the Nuggets play basketball nerd kind of basketball. They move it fast, right? Everything is exactly where it has to be. Miami is all heart. You had a great line when we were group texting the other day with the Celtics Heat game. It's heart versus hope, right? So what is it now? It's heart versus, there's no H word, but it's just statistically good, straight diagram basketball.
Holistic.
Oh, that's perfect. Good one. Oh. I don't know what that word means, but it sounds like it works. No, I'm pulling for the Heat, obviously, like you said, but there's no way that they sweep Miami, the Nuggets sweep Miami, like we've been seeing a lot of predictions.
This is the classic baseball sports lie. The classic baseball sports lie is, they don't play old school basketball. Well, you got the Nuggets.
Yeah.
They play old school basketball, pass the ball around, he's not shooting threes all the time, which everybody's upset about. Yet, let's see if you're going to watch this for the best of 7 series. Or are you going to just basically decide there's no superstars or there's not enough superstars and I'm not going to watch the NBA Finals? I'd love to see what the ratings are at the end of this. I'm sure we'll talk a bit about it. If people are lying to themselves about how much they say basketball is not pure, you got to pass the ball, you got to be team effort, we'll see without the lack of the big star.
Yeah, I think Denver has the potential to go on a 3-championship in 5-year run. Let's talk hockey. You've got Florida and Las Vegas.
I'm cheering for Florida with every bone in my body because you know how I feel about Jack Eichel and everything that's going on in Vegas. And what's funny about this run,
a personal stake in every game.
One man cannot win it all at any cost.
Well, you know what's funny? I mean, I'll obviously be cheering for Florida, not just because, I mean, that could have been Buffalo. They were a point out of being that freaking team. Yeah. Sam Reinhart, former Buffalo Sabre, is on that Florida team. Sam Reinhart has always had a special place in my heart. I like the way Matthew Tkachuk is playing hockey, even though he's one of those guys that you hate unless he's on your team. Now that the Sabres are out, I can enjoy it.
He's been amazing.
He's phenomenal. And the Panthers underwent a massive seismic shift in talent this season, shipping off some of their best players. Everyone thought they were crazy. It looked like it, but I've brought this stat up a couple of times. Everyone's surprised by Florida, the success they're having. They scored the most goals in the NHL from the trade deadline up until now. This team can score. All of a sudden, Bobrovsky, the goalie, is playing like he was 15 years ago. They got a shot to go. They have more experience, it seems, in Florida somehow.
Pick them.
Florida in 6.
Oh, man.
Pick the NBA.
I was going to say Florida in 6. I will go with the Nuggets. I cannot deny how offensively dangerous they are and can score at any time, and Miami goes in lulls.
How many games?
Give me 6, because I need 6.
6 easy pick.
Yeah.
I think it could go back. I can't let it go without saying that you managed to slip in with a plus 600 on the Heat. That's unbelievable.
During the game against the Celtics, when they were up 10, the Heat were plus 600 to win the NBA championship. So who's not jumping on plus 600? You have plus 600 odds on anything, you take it. Like if Tariq becomes an underwear model, I'm going to be a rich man.
So am I. We win-win.
There you go. This is the Rochester Press Box talking Buffalo Bills next. Just passing through. J-Mac, Soccer Sam Fantuzzo, Loretta Scott, Joe Beard, 29 in all, life lessons from notable Rochesterians. Available now.
I have some travel books, Volume 1, Volume 2. You'll be able to get one of these books for free when you buy the new Volume 2 for only $14.95. Contact me at MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box, talking Buffalo Bills, brought to you by Ralph Honda. For 3 generations, celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today. Find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. We spent an awful lot of time, it seems like, over the last month talking about a guy who probably won't be playing for the Buffalo Bills. But what's your slant after the Cardinals released DeAndre Hopkins?
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because there's been an argument made, and you even made it a little while ago off camera, that, you know, DeAndre Hopkins positioned himself really well to be in a place where he's going to succeed because the Cardinals are going to be terrible. For all these people that are singing Hopkins praises, and I get it, he has had a pretty good career. Can't you make the argument the reason the Cardinals are in this position is because of the actions of DeAndre Hopkins, right? The suspensions that he was facing. It was his responsibility to bring along a young quarterback, and for whatever reason, things collapsed down the stretch multiple years. I am not as high on DeAndre Hopkins as everyone else seems to be, and if he ends up in Buffalo, I guess we see what happens there, but the age, the injury history, still questions about what happened with that PED suspension, which you guys know the older guys get trying to recover from injuries, the more common that becomes.
He could be
I'm still trying to process, as you guys know.
As you guys know, as you guys are aware, well, you more than anybody else. He can't even get upstairs without his shots anymore.
Hey, leave him alone. Leave him alone. My God,
But he's right.
This is a show. Well, we can be nice. We can be nice.
So can it happen? Can the Bills make this happen?
Yes, I think they can make it happen. I mean, if you really want Hopkins, who could be a very dangerous weapon for you, which you know you're in an arms race, like we said before a couple of months ago, this is going to be interesting. First of all, DeAndre Hopkins did a great job getting the heck out of Arizona. We know where Arizona's going. They're really not ready to win in the next few years or so. So that's great. He sets himself up to go on another team, maybe the Bills, maybe not, to go get a ring and then maybe sign another 2-year deal down the line as he ends towards the end of his career. That being said, I don't know. This has kind of been this flirting thing. That's why he keeps coming up to the Bills. This is not something we just plucked out of the air and they bring up DeAndre Hopkins because he was released. This has been floating around for about 2 to 3 months.
But I get the feeling that he's the kind of guy, and it seems like, if you say, oh, the Browns could sign him, oh, the Giants could sign him, it's like he just goes with the wind, and whoever say, hey, would you sign with Cleveland? Said,
Browns are not legitimate. Even my Giants are not legitimate for the Super Bowl.
But he says these things. I don't know how seriously you can take anything he says.
People lie.
I agree with you there, and you're also right there. Look, I look at it this way. I don't think team success has anything to do with it, right? He's 34 years old. This is the last contract he's ever going to get. I mean, look, I got to appreciate you appreciating the talent of DeAndre Hopkins. He's not playing another 3 years in this league. This seems like a Dallas Cowboys signing. A desperate, we're going to give him the most money, Dallas Cowboys kind of signing.
Yeah, 3 years ago, he was about the best in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, look, 3 years ago, he was 31 years old, right? I mean, that's still long in the tooth for a wide receiver. And again, with this whole best in the league, right, it's all open to interpretation based on who you're playing with and the division you're playing in. Don't forget, man, he's playing in Houston and with the Cardinals. Like, who are you going up against?
Cowboys are interesting, although they like to run the ball with their new offensive coordinator going forward. So,
and we're rolling out other teams too. I'm still fascinated by Arizona. What, 2 years ago, in the middle of the 2 years ago, they were like 9-0. Kyler Murray, big new thing, and God, is it falling apart? They're tanking next season. They could wind up with the first draft pick who could very well be a quarterback. Do they do this for a third time?
Well, first of all, they're paying for the sins doing it in the first time. Second of all, this is what you get for
there was Josh Rosen.
Yes, right, and then doing it for Kyler Murray. So, no, you don't do it a third time. Although, I mean, you can't get rid of Murray anyway, the way his contract's thing. This is what you get for hiring a sub-500 college football coach to be this brilliant new mind for your team. It fell apart, and everybody who knows anything knew it was going to fall apart.
God, I just can't imagine it being any worse than what's happening in Arizona football
wait and see.
Right
I'm sure
now.
it can get worse. That's the problem.
This is the Rochester Press Box. Our Buffalo Bills segment was brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road.
Hey, hello again, Mike O'Brien, your getaway guide. Today I'm in the Finger Lakes, Skinny Atlas, and today's getaway is a boat ride getaway. Come along for the ride. Check out the Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment brought to you by Sport Clips, where the MVP experience is better than ever. Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair. No appointment is needed. Stop by a Rochester location today. Tariq, there's NBA again. A lot of talent out there available. Executive coaches, you name it. It's going to be some off season.
I've never seen it this way when it comes to players as opposed to coaches and GMs. Like literally, teams are totally destroying their team. The Bucks get rid of their championship coach. Look at the Warriors. We're talking about multiple championships. Their GM, Bob Myers, is gone. The Knicks won nothing in 6 years. They got rid of their GM. Like, it's a whole change going forward. It's almost as if the players aren't responsible anymore. It's the people in charge now.
You know, the NBA more than anyone, we've talked about, Players League. It's all about the NBA players. Says, well, we'll watch what Spoelstra did with the Heat. We're watching how these teams are being put together. It's like, maybe that's not as true as it was just a year ago.
And look at Denver. I mean, they kept that nucleus together during the finals.
Look, I said it a couple weeks ago. I'll say it again. The NBA is the league where coaching is underrated the most. Spoelstra is an example. You saw what Mike Brown did out in Sacramento after being labeled a guy that could only coach LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it doesn't make any sense how quickly they're willing to move on from guys, and how guys that are moved on from quickly are also just getting jobs 2 weeks later, because Nick Nurse is now the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Passed on an opportunity to go coach Kevin Durant out in Phoenix to go play with Embiid. Like, I don't understand what the heck's going on.
Is it over for Golden State?
I don't want to say over yet, but let me just tell you this. The door is almost closed. It's ajarred. It's basically, that's about it. A little slightly open.
Jarred.
Ajarred.
Well, I don't know. How do you play without your GM and Draymond Green next year? Because that's over too, right? He's gone.
Well, is that good or bad for Golden State?
I think it's good. Everyone else in this room seems to scream at me like it's bad, but what do I know other than everything?
Well, Kerr's a great PR agent for that guy. I mean, every time you try to criticize him, Steve Kerr steps in and says, no, it's not the case.
Let's see what he says 6 months after he's gone.
So, against my better judgment, like it or not, celebrity girlfriends.
Well, I love my wife, so I don't need a celebrity girlfriend. I'm assuming you're...
In general.
So let's talk about...
For your starting quarterback of your team currently.
Josh Allen now dating Hailee. It looks like he's dating Hailee Steinfeld, actress. I think this is great. Can you guys think of a time ever in the history of the Bills franchise where any player showed up on page 6 of the New York Post gossip rags? Ever? Even Terrell Owens, when he was here, was quiet and kept his head down and played football. This is like, I never thought in my life I would open up a microphone.
All things being equal, you wouldn't like that. I can hear you railing against staying off page 6.
Oh yeah, but it's not like he did anything to get on page 6. He just looked really handsome walking into... Look, there are guys on this team this Bills team who, if they started dating an actress, I would be like, yeah, this is a problem. Josh Allen is just so aw shucks. He seems like a guy that doesn't even know he's famous, right? Like, he seems like he's using his celebrity just to go to all the sporting events he's always wanted to go to his entire life, right? Like, I think this is great for him. Let the kid live the life.
I keep falling back on Tony Romo, though. There's Tony Romo and Jessica Simpson. And Romo was kind of an old shucks guy, and it was like, it got kind of not great.
I don't know. I mean, listen, the Bills fans will love her if they win games and go anywhere past the AFC Championship game. They will blame her if they don't get back to the AFC Championship game. So it's kind of a win-lose for them if they stay together that long. By the time this airs, they could have broken up. Not that I wish it,
and by the way,
I'm just saying that's how quickly it goes.
There's no confirmation they're dating in the first place. They went out to dinner together in Manhattan, although I am excited for a potential first film cameo for a Bills player since Jim Kelly in Unnecessary Roughness.
Do you know how much dinner costs in Manhattan? Oh, they're dating.
$250 million contract. Well, he's given to everyone dinner in Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm glad I rolled that out there. Our Like It or Not segment, brought to you by Sport Clips. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brew House. Your beer destination since 2012. Visit the gift shop, enjoy a tasting at our pilot brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant at the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business. Pat, start us off.
It's been an interesting week for college football head coaches. Nick Saban, everybody's most hated college football coach, did a press conference this week where he complained about NIL deals and the money that kids are making and how the competitive disadvantage is now shown up in college sports. It's not what it used to be. This is coming from a guy who makes $11 million a year, has boosters that pay his salary at Alabama. You know, he's won 6 of the last 15 national championships. A guy that seems really concerned about competitive disadvantage in college football. Then you have the head coach for Missouri football, a guy who's been sub 500 in almost every season he's been there. He sat down and waxed philosophical about how his brother-in-law makes less money than some guys that are playing Division I college football. And it's a terrible thing, right? That guy's saving lives, helping people. What he failed to mention is that this average college football coach, the man who said these things out loud, makes $6 million a year. Did he not know we could Google that? Because all of this information is public. What I find interesting about the last couple of weeks with all these college football head coaches coming out and crapping all over NIL deals, it's interesting how now you're concerned about how money is affecting the college game. Because money started affecting the college game when college coaches got multi-million-dollar contracts, when college coaches were being pulled to bigger programs off of mid-majors because they wanted them to be successful. Nobody faulted Brian Kelly from going from Cincinnati to Notre Dame to LSU. But Nick Saban's going to fault a kid for making more money at a Florida or a Clemson as opposed to a Toledo? Are you out of your mind? Let's be real here. It ain't about who and what and disadvantage. It's about kids having money in their pocket.
Last thing I want to hear is anybody that deciding that they want to retire or at least throw out any reference of retiring, because I'm just not interested anymore until you actually retire, until you actually submit the paperwork to whatever league you play for or wherever you work, whatever you do, and say, listen, I will no longer play after this day. You want to know why? Because the flirting of retirement, even from Aaron Rodgers, LeBron James, or Tom Brady, it's just ridiculous. All you're basically doing is giving a carrot of being to say, I might walk away. I'm one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Well, that's great. If you walk away from the game, they'll still play next season. There'll be other seasons that will come after you. Younger stars will get an opportunity. Sure, you can still do your endorsement deals. Hell, you see Peyton Manning and Eli Manning on every commercial, even in the NBA. So you're not going to really be retired from being seen on television because you can become a broadcaster. You can become an entrepreneur. You can do whatever you want. You can become a team owner. But stop flirting with the game. If you're going to play the game, commit to the game. If you're not going to play the game, don't play the game. But here's the thing. I'm not interested until you actually retire. Don't say the word.
I have a wall of champions at my house. Framed issues of Sports Illustrated magazines that represent mostly Boston-based championship teams that I rooted for over the years. They begin with the Boston Celtics 1966 championship team and conclude so far with the New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl in 2019. There are 6 from the Patriots, 8 from the Celtics, 4 World Series titles from the Red Sox. The Bruins won 3 Stanley Cups, and I put one up for the Syracuse basketball team from 2003. That's 22 of them in all. That's a lot. And I'll be the first to admit that in this regard, I've been somewhat blessed. Great sports teams and the likes of Bobby Orr, Bill Russell, and Carl Yastrzemski growing up, a dedicated sports-crazy community, and the best sports page in something that was once called a newspaper provided the professional foundation for what I am today. My serious attempts at objectivity fall on deaf ears here, so I am left to admit that 2023 will go down as a tough year for me. Over the course of the regular seasons, the NHL's Bruins and the NBA's Celtics provided near unparalleled excellence, and both were considered championship favorites by the experts. Certainly one would rise above the rest. As we know now, neither did. It's all my fault. In 2018, I made one of those silent vows that we all do. The Red Sox are in the World Series, and I was like, just give me this one, and I will never ask for another. So I got it. And then another from the Patriots at the side door to thank you for all the years that I rooted for that team pre-Tom Brady. But it is time to pay the piper. I am stuck on 22. It is my own fault, and just something that I'm going to have to learn to live with. That is Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brewhouse, and that is our show. You only get one.
Oh, is that hard?
I spent it in 2018.
Was that hard, the 22 championships you've won? Are you serious right now? Are you serious? You're going to...
Unapologetic.
You're going to look into a camera in Western New York and malign that you're Boston... Shut up, Bill!
I don't get another.
I think Duffy made that prayer last night just for the Bills.
Hey, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week for the Rochester Press
Your
Box.
day will come. Please, God. Give me this one.